Hello. And just to confuse you, I'm not Antonia. We're actually presenting in the reverse order. So yeah, I'm going to give you a brief history, the story of what we did. Then Luca's going to show you at least the latest installment of what we've done, because we've been doing this for a while, and some of it you've probably already got. And then Antonia's going to wrap up and lead the Q&A. So what is it we did and when did we start? Well, we started in about late 2019 or 2020. About that time, it was Moodle, just before Moodle 3.9 came out, Moodle HQ announced they wanted to make some big changes. So rather than being the usual 6 months till Moodle 4, it was going to be 18 months. And Thomas Kerner, who's not here, and Luca, who are mates, realized this was an opportunity to get something big done. And we had some pain points in our organizations about sharing questions between courses. It was questions, it was related to stats, quizzing questions in Moodle, so they came and talked to me, and we agreed there was a problem that could be solved, and this was an opportunity to do it. And the basic model was, which was copied from a previous project around integrating Safe Exam Browser into Moodle, go out and crowdfund some money, and then pay Catalyst IT to develop this for us, and get it all into Moodle 4 in 18 months. And here we are 5 years later in Moodle 5, and we finally got there. Making change is hard in software. Making change in an important thing like Moodle that you absolutely mustn't break is even harder. But we got there, and we did it a bit at a time. So what did we do? First thing we did was very Moodle-y. In the past, the question bank in Moodle Core was a fixed thing, and you couldn't really add to it. We made it that the question bank is now entirely built out of plugins, so if you want extra features in the question bank, you can develop a plugin and slot them in, and a few people have. Also, we use that power ourselves. We haven't got time for applause. We use that power ourselves to add some obvious missing features that weren't in core before, like having the statistics visible in the question bank so you can see what the good questions are, having a way for teachers to comment on questions so they can collaborate. Another thing we did that's a little bit more controversial, but now Moodle tracks the version history of questions. So as you edit them, you know what's happened, and more to the point, when a student attempts a quiz, you know exactly what version of the question they saw. And there was some technical database changes for how that happened in the Moodle, how the quiz and question bank talked. All that chunk did get into Moodle 4. Then the other bits followed later. We improved how you search for questions in the question bank, and that means the flexibility for building random quizzes is now much better. So the core of that landed in 4.3. Then we added more filter conditions in Moodle 5. And the final chunk that Luca is about to demo, the better way of sharing between courses. We started originally with Moodle Australia. Safat, I don't know if he's here, did a lot of the work, but then he was doing so well at Moodle development, he got hired by Moodle HQ, and that was a bit of a hiatus. Also, just time zone struggles. So around Moodle 4.2, we moved to Catalyst EU, and a lot of this work was done by Mark Johnson, who is sitting there. Since we sort of achieved our goal in Moodle 5, we've actually spent Moodle 5.1 release concentrating on fixing a lot of the little bugs and niggles and UX improvements. So that's just some stats from that. As I say, this is crowdfunded. Actually, over the 5 years of the project, we have now taken in more than $1 million Australian dollars worth of development. So that is totally awesome. Thank you, everyone who has contributed and made this possible. So yeah, I've already gone over time. Luca.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm trying to show you something. I'm going to use the sandbox, and please don't go in as admin and delete my courses, otherwise I just have to fall back to the pre-recorded, non-animated things, which is much more boring. So yes, you might heard that it's now technically an activity, a question bank. What does it mean? If I go and add an activity, do I see the question banks here? No, I don't see them. It's not here. Where are they? They are where they used to be. They're still here. But you have here the plural tense. You have here a menu point that say question banks. So I go and see where No, thank you. Someone did make the... Is it still legible? Yes, okay. So here you see the places where questions exist. You have a question bank, and if you want, you can add a second question bank. What's the point of having multiple question banks? It could be that they have different capabilities, different persons interacting with that question bank, or it could just be having different categories. So it's up to you. So it makes sense that a quiz, that a course can have multiple question bank. If I'm in a course that has no question bank yet, so before it hadn't, hopefully it hasn't not, so it's prepared here and says nicely, please, do you want to create a question bank? Yes, I do, and so I can create a question bank. So in a quiz, I go back to the starting course, in a quiz you can have, it's indicated where a question comes from. Now a question can come from different places, and with this banner, with this ribbon here, it says where the question is from. So this one is from a shared question bank in a completely other course. This is from the question bank of course level, and this question is in the quiz context itself. So if I go, does that mean if I go and I create a new quiz that I do in this course that has an empty question bank, I add an activity of type quiz, and then I would see everything as I'm already used to. And it says add a question, because there's no question yet. Yes, put some in. And in this dialog, add a question from question bank. Now here's that decisive button that says, no, I want to go to a specific question bank and take a question from that one. It shows where you have been previously, what the other question bank you have been looking at. You have also a nice search that searches to all question banks you can have access to. Editing teachers have access and can use and modify questions, whether as non-editing teachers just allowed to use questions, but you cannot modify them. And same goes also for randomized questions. So if I do add a random question here as well, I say from what category, in what question bank, and can go, which question bank, everything. So not just to the issue that, or the item that Tim said, a question bank now has multiple other filters. So you have the ability also when adding random questions just to go and say, hey, I want to have a question of the multiple choice type that hasn't been attempted in 2025, something like that. So yeah, this is the filtering. Here you can see all the things that you can filter for. So I was probably, I add another filter, and then here, what you all can filter for. I think that was it for me. Sorry if it was fast, please watch it back. And basically the same demo was in a Moodle User Association town hall meeting in January, and Mark did that demonstration. If you need it, contact me and can have you have the link. Oh, yeah.
So need to
back to the presentation. Yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
Thanks.
Now come all the slides that were previously.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through that very quickly, as you have already seen that. So that's just our backup in case Wi-Fi is not working as happened yesterday. So we're going to lead to the discussion now. We're very curious on experiences for everyone who has already updated to 5.0. So can I see hands? Who is on 5.0 already? That's not too many. Who's going to go to 5.0 still this year? That's some more. And who is on LTS? Also some. So I'm sorry, you will have to wait somewhat longer for the changes to come to you. So we're really curious on experiences with the new Moodle version. So if anyone wants to share something on that, we think we have reached the original goals we set out for. If you disagree, let us know. And we are also very curious in knowing what you think we should do next. Is there something missing? something big missing. What would you like to do? So the mic is yours.
In the middle, so completely in the middle, the most. So I ask to give the microphone, to pass it to your colleague.
Thanks for all the work you guys did. One of the things that we're running into is the sheer amount of data that's stored with the versions. Absolutely love the version capability, but is there any talk or thoughts on ways that we can manage that at scale?
Yes, since quite a long time there's been an issue, improvement suggestion in the bug tracker suggesting that we have an automated script that checks for unused intermediate versions and deletes them after some time, probably configurable by the admin. It's totally possible to code that. No one's ever had time to do it. So as soon as someone codes that, we should get that in, I would agree.
Okay, I have also a question. We have also now the 5.0, and in the past we had a lot of duplicate questions. Now we have cleaned with this new solution. But there is a new problem. When a teacher in the past has switched a lot of tests, and they import now the new course that is clean, they get some question banks that are creating in the new course with the old questions, but we can see where the old questions come from, because the question bank is clean. What could this be?
Yes, I think there are two parts to that question. So the first part is, without these facilities in the past, it wasn't possible to keep things nicely organized. And so maybe you have maybe you're keeping the questions in each course, and maybe you roll over your course each semester, so you have multiple copies. How do you get from where we are today to a new, cleaner organization for for how your institution really wants to manage its questions? That's a really good question. If anyone has a good answer to that, we'd love to know. I mean, you can go to where questions are. You can select. I don't think I'm going to try and switch to demo. You can, in the question bank, you can select a bunch of questions and move them to another question bank. And if you do that, all your quizzes will go on working. So some of the tools are there. Is this a technical problem where some more tools could make it easier to sort out from where we are to where we want to be? Or is it just like a human organization problem? You just need to go and do the housekeeping? Don't really know. We're moving in December, and I think we'll discover this for ourselves after that. The other part was, particularly if you're backing up and restoring, if you're backing up old courses and then bringing them into the new world, that should all work transparently, but it may leave you with more question banks that you really want, and then that's more mess to clean up. Again, there's not really a simple answer to that. But we didn't say the upgrade from 4.5 to 5, everything should be upgraded from the old structure to something equivalent in the new structure. Everything should go on working.
For me personally, kind of the solution is time. So
Yeah.
delete courses after like 5 years. So for now, if some teachers are like our users, I create them like a question bank course named Question Bank of Luca. And then Luca, for example, can put his question banks in there via XML import export. And after 5 years, his old courses are gone. And from then on, he just redirects the quiz to use that question in that question bank course. So in 5 years' time, we are cleaned up automatically.
Yeah.
I know that's not like a good solution.
Thank you for sharing that, and it would be really good if I repeated that, but I think I'm going to be lazy because it was a long answer. Let's go on to the next question, if that's okay. Over here.
Yeah. Hi, we use the quiz function a lot throughout our programs, and we tend to use it for things you're not really supposed to use the quiz function for, but that's our prerogative. The thing is the size or the amount of questions that you can get into a question bank. Sometimes, thanks to our trigger-happy teachers, we have more questions than what there's room for. Have you increased the size of question banks at all?
isn't a hard limit on how many questions you put in a question bank. I imagine if you go totally over the top, you can hit performance issues, though it's pretty scalable. One of the options this now is you can, if you have a really big question bank, well now actually you could instead have several different question banks to organise it into smaller chunks. That's one of the benefits of this new system. Did that
we would
answer your question?
higher kind of numbers of questions because a lot of our teachers like to randomise, say, multiple choice, which is brilliant. Like, I mean, it works really well, and we do short answer quizzes and we use them as templates and everything like that. So they're great, really. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, and while we get the microphone to the next question, I would love to know what you think's an inappropriate use of the quiz. Can we have a chat over coffee?
Was there a question back there?
There's a question.
Yes, hi, Joost from Zuid University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. We have been using Moodle for approximately 8 years now, and one of the issues we came across was the sheer volume of restored quiz and question banks. When we started, this was 3.5, I think we ended up using in the beginning. So we moved question banks to course category level. Will that be an issue when we move from 4.5 to 5.0?
Right, so this is about question banks or question categories that currently exist at course category level.
Yes.
It will continue to work, and once you have moved to the new world, you may then want to kind of rethink and reorganize things. But what the automatic upgrade will do in that case is it will make a course a placeholder course called something like question banks for this question category, and then in there will be a question bank. And the way this is done, everyone who could access the questions before will have access to this new question bank, and all the quizzes will go on working.
Yeah, we created the additional role of question bank user at category level. And,
right, all your roles and permissions will go on working the same way they currently do.
Okay.
After you've finished migrating, you might have the opportunity to simplify the number of roles you have if you think that's desirable.
We already decided that is desirable. One final one for what should you do more. In the Netherlands, we have a different take on course, quiz statistics and question level statistics. That doesn't really match the language Moodle uses for analyzing effectiveness and quality of questions and question options. So will there be a possibility to add other statistical models for analyzing quizzes?
Quite possibly, yes. And part of the answer to that is then you've got the ability to make plugins in the question bank. So then you could display your alternate statistics in the question bank rather than the standard ones.
Okay. Well,
Thanks
you very much.
Next question, which was somewhat here. Yeah.
Hi, Tim. Brilliant work. And we're on 4.5 at the moment. I've taken a look at 5.0, but I'm not fully familiar with it. But my question's really about question bank ownership. So what I'd like to be able to achieve, and this might be possible now, or it could be a future feature request, is to have within one course 2 question banks that are owned by different individual teachers.
Yep.
They just see theirs, and they can create quizzes based on their own question bank, but they don't see the other side. Now, I've thought of a workaround which is very similar actually to the red-haired gentleman's idea of having a question bank course for that individual teacher, but I just wanted to know whether that's something that's possible.
That could work. The other thing you could do if you want the question banks in the course, you could go in and adjust the permissions. So one teacher has the permissions on one question bank, but not on the other, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So you've got all the flexibility that Moodle roles bring you if you understand Moodle roles in depth.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, up the back there.
Thank you for all the work you've done. My question is, when restoring a course, would it be possible to select the questions bank I need to bring into a new course?
No, Moodle Restore is completely automatic. It tries to do the sensible thing. What you can do after a restore, if you don't like where it's put the questions, again, you can go in, you can bulk select the questions and move them where you do want them. But restoring backups is not an interactive process in Moodle. So yeah, we just have to make it work automatically and hopefully in a default way that's good. So question down the front. Has anyone got the other microphone? No, yeah. Yep, go, Karen.
Hi, Karen Holland from Brookfield. I love your work. Thank you so much. We just had a solution that we've come up with on the duplicate questions that everyone's that are creating this. That it arose from when we were looking at the data from analysing the accessibility errors in our product, and so there is this new to pre-note the duplicate questions. So we've created a report that goes course-to-course migration of just the used questions. So when you do a backup, you undelete or at least you unselect the questions, and then you can use this report to put the used questions that you need into the new one. Course teacher capabilities. Then you do need to create the quiz again to put them all back in again. But if anyone's happy, we're going to see that everyone at the Moot is going to be able to have a chat to us about that.
Right, if that seems interesting, go and check out the Brickfield stand. Before we take the next question, Luca or Antonia, do you want to do the next slide?
Yeah, I can do that. So, if you got an idea, the question is still in the room, and our project is still alive, and we want to keep it alive. And what should the next big thing should be? We're also here doing coffee, and after the final session, until the final session, just come and approach us. Approach us as well if your institution has some funds they want to give. So it's a really easy process. As the Swiss, I play the role of the bank. It's me who then send the invoice out to you. It's me that's paying Catalyst for their work with the money that's contributed. This could be, maybe you have some some funds that are dedicated to quality assurance or for digitalization, or oftentimes at the end of the year you see some unspent things. Contact me. We'll spend it for you. Contact me. It's value tax exempt because it's an academic corporation. I can do the invoice as you wish with the text that your institution needs. So we can also do kind of a contract if that's important for you. It's been proved it works. And just don't hesitate to come to me. Again, what is next thing that we should do? Is there someone who wants to raise his voice? Yeah, please go. Yes, thank you very much, Bruno. It's at your left-hand side.
So I'm Bruno Polubert from Université de Montréal, and I think that maybe AI-enhanced question creation could, like AI-assisted question creation with proper feedback for each answer would be a real, and that could be validated by the teacher before. So I think that would be a nice thing to use. And the part that is a little tricky for teachers, I see like creations of the question in the question banks is fairly easy, but configuring the actual tests themselves, there are so many choices. So I'm not sure about exactly what I'm asking, but what I see is that teachers, that's where they have some difficulties. So maybe something to help them, like configure this easier, maybe an assistant or I don't know what.
Thank you. So about the first part, it's not in standard Moodle, but in the plugins database is a plugin that plugs into the question bank and gives you the feature to get AI to generate some questions for you. That's been developed by the Mebis people, and also, Heki, are you in the room? Not that I'll be able to see with these lights in my eye. Anyway, there's Heki Vilnius from the University of Helsinki. They've done interesting work in that area. As I say, it's a plugin, but freely available if you want it. Better ways to build quizzes, yes. That is something we have talked about at the MoodleMoot in Germany 2 weeks ago. At the Dev Camp, and a team of people prototyped something really quick and dirty and crude to test out the concept. So doing that properly would be a huge chunk of work. That might be the next big thing. We've got 2 minutes of this session before the next speaker's due to take the stand. We should possibly be wrapping up. Let's have one last question, if we may.
Okay. I actually had a comment on the AI question. generator. It does work. It's only for multiple choice questions at the moment. I believe there are plans to add more question types to it as well, and it's been being developed all the time. But there are some issues with it. But you can easily create questions with Copilot as well.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's one of Heikki's colleagues from Finland. Yeah. Last question then.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the orange jacket, so you could find me. No funding, but maybe a little CSS to share if people like it. Our customers like it that in standard Moodle we have the question number and the status and your points, etc. on the left-hand side, then the question and the quiz navigation on the right-hand side. With a little piece of CSS, we move the block on the left-hand side on top of the question. So that gives the question a little bit more room, and people like it. So
we've done the same thing in our custom theme at the OU. I really ought to get around to putting that back into Moodle Core, or someone should.
It's a simple piece of CSS. So
I agree. The layout of questions as standard in Moodle needs a little bit of love. Thank you. Good point. Okay, thanks everyone for your attention.